This video will guide you through the Planet 3 installation procedure for the specialized range of e-bikes, including Generation 1 and 2 Turbo Levo, Turbo Kinevo, Turbo Vado, and Turbo Como. Planet 3 is a planetary gear reduction set which reduces the rotation speed of the magnet used by the wheel speed sensor by 2/3. For every 3 full rotations of the rear wheel, the magnet completes just 1 full rotation, effectively making the bike think it's doing 1/3 of the speed it is actually doing, thus increasing the pedal assist limit by a factor of 3. For the specialized models sold on the EU market, this translates into a speed limit increase from 25 to 75 km per hour, while the US and Canada models limit is raised from 20 to 60 miles per hour. Planet 3 is compatible with all 6-bolt rear hubs that feature one of the following types of braking side end caps. A stock specialized hub end cap with a staggered profile and a 19mm open-ended wrench cutouts. End caps featuring a straight 19mm outside diameter profile, such as those found on Roval, DT Swiss and many other hubs. Planet 3 is also compatible with all 6-bolt brake disc rotors whose carrier thickness does not exceed 3mm. This covers almost all rotors on the market, including Shimano XT, Hope SAW and floating rotors, and SRAM centerline. In this video, we will be installing the Planet 3 device on a 2019 Turbo Levo FSR and a 2018 Turbo Vado 3.0, but the process is nearly identical for all bikes. View a list of necessary tools and supplies in the video description below, and for more detailed information and technical articles, go to planet3.bike/technical. Even if you are a well-equipped hobby bicycle mechanic, this guide will assume that not everyone is in a possession of an e-bike capable bike stand and many other tools. However, having the bike rest upside down on a flat surface makes the several steps of the process easier and more accessible. If your bicycle features a handlebar or stem-mounted LCD display, a bell, or any other devices which would make contact with the floor, remove or rotate them into the downwards position. Grasp your bike by the lower leg of the fork and the chainstay, and flip it over so that it rests on the handlebar and saddle. Shift your bicycle into the highest gear while rotating the cranks with your hand so that the chain is positioned on the smallest cog on the cassette. This will ensure easier wheel removal and installation. If your bicycle features a clutch rear derailleur, switch the clutch mechanism into the off position. This will facilitate an even easier wheel removal and installation. Check if the derailleur cage can be moved forward without much resistance. To remove a wheel, start by unscrewing the axle counterclockwise. Depending on the type of axle found in your bike, you can do this either by hand or by using the appropriate Allen key or a hex socket bit. Once the axle stops gaining distance, remove it completely from the frame. While holding the rear wheel with your right hand, use the thumb of your left hand to push the derailleur cage forward, while at the same time pulling on the P knuckle backwards with your index and middle finger. Lift the wheel up and extract it from the bike. Use a 2.5mm Allen key to remove the M4 screw holding the sensor carrier onto the chainstay. This bolt will be reused during the later installation process. Okay. Remove the sensor carrier from the frame, unroute the cable, and extract the wheel speed sensor from the carrier. Insert the sensor into the Planet 3 sensor carrier all the way. Hold it with one of your fingers while you route the cable into the side channel. Make sure the sensor is held into place by cable tension. Dimension tolerance of the hole in the sensor carrier may vary slightly. If you find yourself having to push the sensor into the carrier with more force than the cable can provide through tension, use a small flathead screwdriver or Allen key to push on the edge of the sensor so that it slides into place. Reuse the previously removed M4 screw to attach the sensor carrier to the chainstay. Tighten it with a 2.5mm Allen key using the shorter end of the key until your thumb starts to hurt. This will provide an adequate force to hold the sensor carrier in place without the risk of over-tightening. This concludes the extra installation steps for the 2019 Turbo Levo. Using a Torx 25 socket or key, remove all 6 bolts holding the rotor and the magnet carrier in place. Leaving the rotor in place, remove the original screws, washers and the magnet carrier from the rotor. Even if your bike is brand new, it would be advisable to clean all of the surfaces and the 6 bolt holes with some sort of degreaser and a paper towel. This will ensure that the Planet 3 device sits on an even surface and increase the friction between the Planet 3 ring gear and the end cap on some hub versions. To ensure the longevity of your hub bearing and their seals, do not spray the degreaser directly onto the hub cap. Take 3 of the supplied M5 screws that came with the Planet 3 device and that have medium Loctite 248 pre-applied to their threads and place them into every other hole on the hub. Tighten all 3 screws with 6 Newton meters. Place the Planet 3 sun gear onto the hub so that the 3 leftover holes are aligned with the ones on the hub. Take the remaining 3 M5 screws and place them into the holes. Tighten all the bolts with 6 Newton meters. If you do not have a torque wrench, an adequate tightening torque can be achieved using a rubberized bit holder screwdriver handle and the maximum force you can produce with 2 hands. So dalje. Note the diameter of the handle. Larger diameter handles will be able to produce a higher tightening torque. Use your sound judgment. Place the Planet gear containing the neodymium magnet onto the sun gear with the visible surface of the magnet facing you. Push the Planet gear radially towards the sun gear until the teeth mesh. You may need to find a position along the circumference of the sun gear where the magnet is least attracted to the steel washers and bolts. For the specialized hub end cap, rotate both the end cap and the ring gear so that the retaining clips on the ring gear are aligned with the 19mm open-ended wrench cutouts on the end cap. Angle the end cap downwards while aligning the round edge of the end cap with the round edge of the ring gear. Start by pressing down and angling the ring gear so that the retaining clips slide onto the end cap. The 19mm open-ended wrench cutouts will spread the retaining clips and the ring gear will slide onto the end cap. Press down on the bevel edge of the ring gear until it slides fully onto the end cap. You may need to rotate the end cap and ring gear assembly slightly so that you feel the teeth of the Planet come into the meshing contact with the ring gear. Proper installation depth for the stock brake rotor is achieved by the retaining clips seating on the end of the 19mm cutouts. If you are using a rotor with an aluminum carrier, such as the Shimano RT76 or 86 or Hope rotors, the installation depth will be achieved when the ring gear touches the sun gear. Even though these two parts should not be in contact since one stands still while the other rotates, they will find their optimal position on their own during operation and there will be no significant wear. For the straight 19mm diameter end caps, such as those found on DT Swiss, Roval or Syntex hubs, the ring gear is held in place via a press fit, helped by the circular pattern of lamellas. These lamellas have a beveled edge on the inner side of the ring gear to help you get the ring gear started onto the hub end cap. Simply place the ring gear onto the top of the end cap with the internal gearing facing the sun gear and the planet. And start pushing on the inner raised bevel edge of the ring gear all around the circumference until you feel the ring gear slide onto the end cap completely. As this is a press fit, you may need to use significant pressure to get it started. Do not worry. The internal part of the ring gear is not a very fragile piece, and as long as you keep pressing on the inner raised bevel, it should not break. Once you can see the hub end cap is fully inserted into the ring gear, use uniform pressure to press the ring gear down until it makes contact with the sun gear. You may need to rotate the assembly slightly for the planet gear splines to start meshing with the ring gear splines. To reinstall the wheel, use your left hand to again extend the derailleur cage and move the P-knuckle backwards, while aiming with your right hand to position the smallest cog between the chain lines. Make sure that on the right, the brake disc is aimed at the gap between the brake pads. Slide the wheel in so that the blah blah on the hub meets the dropouts and that both the entry and the exit holes are aligned. Slide in the through axle and check the alignment of the threads on the exit hole of the frame. Begin tightening by screwing the axle in a clockwise direction. For quick release axle types, tighten with a force that will leave a visible white imprint in your palm, but below the pain threshold. If your axle doesn't feature a quick release lever, tighten using the appropriate Allen key or hex socket bit to 15 Nm. If you do not have a torque wrench handy, a good way to gauge 15 Nm using a 5 or 6 mm Allen key is to have a 15 or 20 degrees of flex in the longer arm of the key. If your derailleur has a clutch mechanism, turn it back on before going for a ride. If your street doesn't begin with a downhill section, it would be a good idea to shift the bike back into a lower gear for a less stressful start on your drivetrain. Flip your bike back over and go ride it the way it was meant to be, unhindered. This concludes the Planet 3 upgrade procedure for your Specialized e-bike. For more in-depth technical information and articles, visit planet3.bike and subscribe to our YouTube channel.